So much. Let's bring in Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff of California. He was a member of the January 6th committee. Congressman, what was your reaction when you first saw this report recommended charges against 39 people? Did that number seem high to you? Did any of the names on this list surprise you?
You know, what stood out to me, Jake, is the fact that the grand jury really did a diligent effort in that the vote totals, for each defendant really varied. So when they considered Lindsey Graham, I think the vote was something like 13-7. When they looked at one of the then existing Georgia senators, it was a different vote count. The other senator to get another vote count. That tells me the grand jurors took their responsibility seriously. They weighed the evidence particular to each defendant. It wasn't like kind of a blanket decision. That's what they're supposed to do. And the fact that they recommended charging Lindsey Graham, and by the way, I think Lindsey Graham's explanation doesn't pass the laugh test. You don't, as a senator, House member, other elected official, call a Secretary of State in some other state and try to get them to toss out votes. That is not the least bit part of the job description, and he's lucky not to be indicted. But here the prosecutor made a decision that their burden of proof is a different standard than the grand juror. The grand juror decides if there's probable cause, but a prosecutor's got to decide, can I prove this beyond a reasonable doubt? With the varying conflicting interpretations of that call, among other things, I think the prosecutors made a rational decision.
Yeah, it's interesting, Senator Graham criticizing the fact that he was almost charged, even though he was not. I mean, the only witness against him is a conservative Republican who endorsed Donald Trump, and the person who decided to not prosecute him is a liberal Democrat who endorsed Joe Biden. But be that as it may, I want to tick through the votes to bring charges.
Well, and if I can mention too,
yeah.
Jake, Lindsey Graham is an attorney. I think he was in one of the adjutant in the JAG Corps in the military. This is someone who knows the law both as a senator, as a practicing lawyer. He knows where the line is and not to cross the line. He shouldn't have been anywhere near the line. So as I said, I think he's gotten off lucky here. And I do think even though he's not been indicted, it will be a deterrent to other members of Congress not to meddle, not to approach the line when it comes to suggesting votes ought to be tossed out to favor your candidate.
I want to tick through the votes to bring charges or not bring charges against some of Trump's top allies, Michael Flynn, Boris Epshteyn, and Cleta Mitchell. The grand jury voted the same way for all three of them. 20 said to bring charges, 20 for Flynn, Epshteyn, and Cleta Mitchell. 1 for each one of them said no, and 0 abstained. That's nearly unanimous for all three, yet charges were not brought against any one of these individuals. What do you make of that?
You know, it could be, as you were discussing earlier, that some of these people have decided to cooperate. In the case of the folks you just mentioned, that seems, though, very unlikely. These are some hardcore people. My guess is that the prosecutors just made a different judgment about what was the availability of the legal defenses, and they took a different view of things than the grand jurors. That is not at all uncommon, and to me, it is sound prosecutorial discretion. They're going to have a hard enough case as it is, given all the public attention around this case. And so I think going with their strongest charges against those you have the best proof to get convictions is the right approach for prosecutors.
And also charges obviously ultimately not brought against Lindsey Graham, Perdue, and Kelly Loeffler. Why not, do you think? Do you think Fani Willis was worried about being perceived as being too political? Do you think it was just a matter of evidence?
My guess is that it was a matter of the evidence and, their assessment of what they could prove beyond a reasonable doubt. In the case of Graham, you have some ambiguity about what took place during that call. You don't have the, definitive record that we did with Trump's call with Raffensperger. And so I think it's a sensible judgment. The fact that the grand jurors themselves were divided, if the vote for Graham, for example, was 13-7, that doesn't spell a lot of success when you go to the higher standard of proof in a criminal courtroom, where if you could have even a single juror say, no, you don't get the unanimous verdict that you need. So I think rational judgments And this case is of such great importance because it goes to the heart of our peaceful transfer of power. We're, as members of the January 6th committee, we're, very proud of the work we did to bring these facts before the American people, to force prosecutors to confront them and make these difficult decisions. So we did accountability as much as we could. It's up to prosecutors to bring justice.
Yeah. One other note on Lindsey Graham is that it's because Lindsey Graham denied what Raffensperger said he told him, that Raffensperger recorded the call with Trump. So Donald Trump might have Lindsey Graham to thank for his Georgia indictment. Congressman Adam Schiff, thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.